لله الذي بنعمته تتم الصالحات والصلاة والسلام على نبيه محمد سيد الأنبياء وخاتم المرسلين. Brothers, today we'll summarize what we studied last time about the ghusl, how a Muslim makes ghusl. First of all, we need to know the legislation of ghusl. This is mentioned in the Quran as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِن كُنْتُمْ جُنُبًا فَطَّهَّرُوا. If you are in a state of janaba, you are required to purify yourself. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in another verse, وَلَا جُنُبًا إِلَّا عَابِرِي سَبِيلٍ, meaning a Muslim shouldn't pass through the mosque if he is in a state of janaba. The state of janaba actually happens after sexual intercourse. And the Prophet ﷺ once stated, if a person has an intercourse, then ghusl becomes obligatory. كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا تجاوز الختان فقد وجب الغسل, for a woman or for a man. Things that obligates ghusl: number one, al-janaba, the state of janaba, and we have just explained it. The state of janaba is the first thing that obligates a person to have ghusl. The second thing that obligates a person to have ghusl, this is especially for the woman, if she passes the period of menstruation period or the postnatal period. If the blood stops, she needs to make ghusl in order to start any act of worship that requires tahara. The third thing that obligates ghusl is entering Islam. If someone is non-Muslim and he becomes a Muslim, it's a must for him. He's obligated to perform ghusl. And this is what happened with Thumam al-Hanafi when he accepted Islam. The Prophet ﷺ asked him to perform ghusl. Fourth thing that obligates ghusl, al-mawut. If a person dies, his fellow Muslims are obliged to give him the deceased washing before the funeral. There are some events or some things that it's like to have ghusl. It's preferable to do ghusl before performing them. Number one is al-Jumu'ah, to have ghusl for Jumu'ah prayer. Second thing is al-Ihram. When you are performing Hajj or Umrah, it's preferable to do ghusl before you enter in the state of Ihram. You wash yourself and then you put your clothes for Ihram and intend to perform the Hajj or Umrah. Second thing, when you enter Mecca. If you enter Mecca, it's preferable to start with bathing, before you go to the Masjid al-Haram. لدخول مكة, when you enter Mecca. وللوقوف بعرفة, same applies to standing on Arafah. ولتغسيل الميت. If you wash a deceased, طبعا we said for the deceased ghusl is obligatory, but for the person who washes a deceased person, it's preferable for him mustahab, and it's something like to have ghusl. Now there are ghusl, when we perform ghusl, there are some pillars of ghusl or furud of ghusl, some mandatory things of ghusl, and these are the actions of ghusl that must be fulfilled for the ghusl to be correct. Without any one of them, the ghusl becomes void. Number one is, brothers, an-niyya, which is intention, and this is by your heart. You don't have to say it out loud, just by your heart you intend to remove the state of impurity. Number two is washing the whole body with water. Number three is allowing water through your fingers and your hair. And there are some things that are Sunan al-Ghusl. Sunan al-Ghusl meaning they are sunnah the Prophet ﷺ has done, and we are recommended to do following the sunnah or the way of the Prophet ﷺ. Number one is at-tasmiyah, which is saying Bismillah, and Bismillah is a sunnah, is recommended before starting anything, any matter. Ghusul Correctly, to wash your hands Okay. البداية بإزالة الأذى. You start with removing the filth from your body and starting with the organs of wudu. Starting with the organs of wudu. المضمضة والاستنشاق, allowing the water into your mouth, okay, and then bringing it out and rinsing the water in your nose and bringing it out, and also washing your hairs. There are some things that are disliked when you make ghusl, brothers. Number one, squandering water, wasting water. Making ghusl in a dirty place, this is disliked. Washing with the remain of a water that was used by women for you. And also, and this is was the reason the Prophet ﷺ prohibited this. Number 4, الاغتسال بلا ساتر, يعني washing yourself while you don't have anything that blocks you. Even if you are alone, you need to have, or at your home, you need to have something, sitara, curtain, or just you close the door if you are doing the ghusl. Number 5, washing yourself with stagnant water which is not running. Before last, we have كيفية الغسل. How we perform ghusl, and this is very important. We say Bismillah, intending to remove the state of impurity, and then we wash our hands 3 times, and then we wash our private parts, then and anything that around them of filth, and then we make the wudu, like the wudu for salah, and we can, as you said before, we can postpone our legs until we have washed our body. After we do this, the wudu, we allow the water through our hair to make sure that it reaches the skull, it reaches the roots of the hair. And then we wash our ears with washing the head or the hair, and then allow the water through your right part of your body from up down, and then your left part up and down, and you be careful to allow water to reach to any parts of your body that could be the water couldn't reach there, like your belly button. And this is how the Prophet ﷺ used to do ghusl. Fourth thing, or last thing we studied, there are some things, if you are in a state of janaba, you cannot perform. Number 1 is reciting the noble Quran, except for saying isti'adha, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. But for reciting the Quran, a person in a state of janaba is not allowed. What else, brothers? Dukhulul masjid, entering the mosque. Except for someone who's a passerby, but he will not stay in the mosque. But entering into the mosque and staying in the mosque is prohibited for a person who has janaba. As-salah, performing salah, either it be voluntary or mandatory salah. Salah was also prohibited for a person in a state of janaba. And number 4 is touching the noble Quran, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says لا يمسه إلا المطهرون, ولقول الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تمس القرآن إلا وأنت طاهر. Don't touch the Quran except when you are pure. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه والحمد لله رب العالمين. جزاكم الله خيرا.